1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, welcome back to It's Not a Sport, Season 3, Episode 17. We have a good talk this week, just like always with the last couple episodes. We're going to go straight into the talk. So if you're looking for esports scores and the news for this week, that's going to be at the end. Make sure to leave a like and a comment and follow us and subscribe. It always, helps out. You want to listen to our past shows, our previous talks are all archived on our YouTube channel, and make sure to check us out on Instagram. It's Not a Sport to you. So, what are we talking about this week? This week's going to be a little bit different from normal shows because we're actually going to talk about sports. Normal traditional sports. NBA, baseball, basketball, soccer, football, all those. And then we're going to talk about how esports has learned from those sports and why esports will never be as successful and the problems when it comes moving forward with those sports. So first off, what have those sports been doing during quarantine? Because I think this is a topic that I want to educate people about and, what players have been doing because they can't play during quarantine with the virus going around. So we have examples where people are just so ESPN, over the course of quarantine has shown players just play 2K as replacement for basketball games or NFL. And they've just, more video games have come into sports because they can't watch traditional sports. And people have been doing that a lot more. And people have, started to realize that, these are actually followings. These are legit. And then we see not only that, but in F1, Formula One racing, one of the biggest competitive racing leagues in the world, to get better because these players can't drive, they can't be on the track, even though they got around that and now they're racing. You can watch the races. They have to play video games to get better, and these video games really help them improve to get better at racing in real life when they actually go out and race. So that's just how video games have been impacting traditional sports during COVID times, which I just want to talk about. Now, why is this kind of a big deal? Well, we look at recently how the NBA's been doing it. How the NBA's been handling sports, because now they're back on, is they've been handling it with a bubble system. And traditionally what it is, from my understanding, is that everyone is in the same building and they all play in one place and they're all stacked on each other. So there's no traveling. They're just all in one location, right? And why I bring this up is because that's exactly how Worlds will be doing it when we hit Worlds in a couple months with League of Legends, where all the players, instead of traveling to different cities within China, because it was supposed to take place in China this year, and they announced it that it was take place in China next year as well. They're copying the NBA and they're doing a bubble system, which means all the players will be in a hotel room and they will all play in this hotel room stacked on each other, and that's how games are going to be played in a bubble. Essentially it's exactly what it sounds like. And I bring this up because if you look at League of Legends, especially League of Legends, they take a lot, and I mean a lot, of plays out of the NBA playbook. How franchising setup is exactly like NBA is how they set up. And I think the reasons why they do this is just because of the NBA's presence in China. I know the NBA has a huge presence in China, and it's the same with League of Legends. With Tencent being in China, they have a huge presence in China. So of course, if it works, if the NBA is doing it and it works in China, then League will do it and it will work, in China as well. And that's why we see so many familiarities and so many basketball teams, especially, kind of hop into League, is maybe because of that China connection. That's just pure speculation, of course, but I could see that that's a huge reason why. Now, one thing that I really just want to bring to light, and probably the main point of this talk, is why traditional sports will always triumph over esports currently. And it has a lot to do with these foundations. One being change is really big in video games because video games is split, unlike traditional sports. When you play in the NBA and when you play at a professional level, when you play at a semi-professional level in college, it's completely different from going outside to a park and just joining a dude's games with a bunch of friends or just playing with randoms. It's completely different because it's at a competitive environment, if you're playing at that level, it may be very competitive, but it's not that competitive. So it's more for fun. Nothing's really on the line. You're not being paid to do it. And I bring this comparison up because when you look at video games, you have the competitive pro play, which would be the LCS, the LCK for League of Legends, the Overwatch League or professional CS:GO, with you have those, and then you have ranked solo queue, competitive, which is the competitive for the general community. And when this problem happens is because when you're playing a traditional sport and they're making decisions at the highest level, or the league is making decisions at the highest level, they're making it for competitive and competitive only. They're not making it for the small people underneath them that want to play basketball, in their own local park. It doesn't matter for them. But for video games, it does matter a lot. When Riot makes a change, they may make a change for pro play, but it affects everyone in every part of the player base that's just playing solo queue or just playing casually for fun. It's vice versa. If they make a change for casually for fun, then it affects pro play in some way or another. So, and this is the biggest problem. And of course, because it's different ways of making money and you have to keep your player base's attention, Riot and Blizzard and Epic will always have to add new things. They have to add new champions, new skins, new things, because that's how they make money. That's how they retain the player base. Where traditional sports isn't like that, because they're making money off of, ticket sales and viewership on ad slots and just things like that, marketing, sponsorships, etc. So because of how they make money differently versus traditional sports versus esports, it drastically changes it. Now here's where things get different, where it's competitively. So now I'm going to talk about competitive a little bit more. With that in mind, you look at traditional sports and you look at basketball. Basketball, it doesn't change, like the rules are always the same, so the players have time to really work on the fundamentals of the game. They don't have and they just get better at the game. They get better at what parts of the game they want to get better at. Now if we look at video games, right, you have new characters being released as a pro player, so you have to learn the new characters, because if you don't, you fall behind. You would have constant changes completely being made to the fundamentals of the game, whether it's the EXP or the map or how a buff works or timers, or how damage fall off works. Then it changes how you have to relearn your fundamentals. It changes how that works. It's like if traditional sports, if you were playing basketball, I take basketball because, again, it's the most similar reference to League, which I'm most familiar with, you could say, and that League's probably the biggest esports out there. They are changing the ball. Riot is specifically changing the ball every 2 weeks. 1 week you're playing with a basketball on the court, next you're playing with a golf ball, then you're playing with a football, and then a rugby ball, but you're still playing basketball but with different balls. So that's how League works, and it becomes very problematic for the higher levels of play, and it becomes very it just becomes a kind of a clusterfuck. And then you come to the issue of talent. Well, because it's very hard to find new talent because one, it's not as big of a population, especially here in North America, where compared to like basketball, football, where people, there's actually a lot of talent for that. But for a video game, there's not a lot of talent for it over here. And then because of the consistent changes, you want players who are consistently good. You don't want wild card players. You want players who are consistently good. That's why Faker is so good at League of Legends, because he has always been consistently a safe choice. That's why Bjergsen is still on TSM, because he's consistently been a safe choice. And you don't want, people falling off, and people who do fall off are the people who can't keep up with the changes. So it creates this problematic cycle of gameplay where the more change is happening, the worse it is for competitive and viability, and you just lose players or you gain players over an amount of time. And really what it comes down to, and what I think the solution for these problems will be, first off, there is no real solution as long as how they make money. If they make money through skins, through new champions, there'll always be a problem. But when it comes to competitive, I think competitive should be a totally different game than it is compared to everyone else. If you're playing on the competitive level of League of Legends, you're playing on one patch for a majority of the year compared to everyone else, the general player base. You're playing there's banned champions, so certain champions just aren't viable. We see in competitive, we'll never see certain champions in competitive, and a lot of champions get ruined, or in a lot of heroes. You could turn this over to Overwatch, any first-person shooter. A lot of things that that are at the level of casual play get ruined because of competitive play, and that's where I think we should split the games. Now, of course, this does have a lot of problems where now new talent can't come into the games because they're playing a completely different game than the pro competitive people are playing. But these are problems that, unless we address, or unless we figure out a solution to these problems, it will never be on the quality and the level of interest that professional traditional sports will be. Because traditional sports, these guys are the best of the best for a reason. Where in esports and League of Legends and Overwatch, they're the best because they may be good at playing this certain play style, or this certain champion, or this abusing this at this certain time, and they're only good because they're consistently good at keeping up with the changes in the lifespan of the game. Not really because, and of course because they're the top of the ladder, but they're really good because they're consistently keeping up at the top of the ladder and consistently with the changes of the game, rather than just being masters of the game themselves. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this talk. I know it was a little bit janky on the side, but I think I got the overall message across. We're going to move on to our news for this week, and then esports, and wrap it up as always. Let's get going. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's talk of It's Not a Sport. Make sure to leave a like and a comment, follow, subscribe. It really helps out. And if you want to listen to all of our past shows, check it out on our YouTube channel, where you can also see physically where I show the articles and the news that we're about to talk about. And with that being said, there is a lot, and I mean a lot of small news that came out this week. First, let's start off with Sony's state of play. Yes, they had a state of play this week. Nothing huge, nothing major. They didn't release PS5 prices, sadly, but they did just show off a little bit more of their games and things that are coming in the near future. First one being Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. It looks actually really good, and I think if you're a Crash fan, you'll be happy to see the changes and the things that they've done to the game to make it more challenging, new modes that you can do as well. So with that being said, that will be coming out very soon, I believe this year. But that's something to look forward to. It looks really good. It looks like a good pickup, and I've definitely always been kind of a fan of Crash Bandicoot games, but they haven't been my type of games. But if you're looking for a platforming challenge, this is it. Now we got Hitman VR announced. That just seems like so much fun. Hitman has always been a really cool series, and with the last game, it was very kind of goofy. So now doing it in VR on PlayStation just seems really cool for Hitman 3. Then we had Braid gets an anniversary edition. It's a small indie game. We also had Spelunk 2 release date, a trailer, and that comes out. We have Control and an expansion too, so DLC for Control. That's really good. Control was a Game of the Year contender for last year. I didn't think it was fantastic. I believe I've talked about it in the past, but seeing expansions for it is really cool. It's a very unique game, so definitely check that out. We have Vader Immortal, a Star Wars VR game, so we get a Star Wars VR game. That's cool. Aeon World Premiere trailer, or Aeon Must Die. So it's a cool cyberpunk fighting game. So that's some cool stuff that are coming out. We have Hooded, Outlaws and Legends that had a world premiere. Will be coming out on the PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X, Xbox One, PC, and it's a PvPvE heist game due out in 2021. We had The Pedestrian is coming to PS4 January 2021. Bug Snacks, which I'm pretty sure is made by the same studio that made Octodad, which is also there are a bunch of DePaul alumni, and I'm a DePaul student, so that's pretty cool to see. We have Ano Mistros is coming to PS4 in December 2020. Pathless. Now Pathless, I saw this game. It looked actually really kind of cool. Like, I'm not really usually a big fan of like indie games, so to speak. I kind of just want to wait to see until they come out and see like what they have to offer before I even want to pick them up or anything like that. But just from seeing the gameplay of the Pathless, it just looks like a really cool concept. It's kind of Breath of the Wild-y, but seems like more explory and about speed and mobility. So that's coming. We saw that it's coming to PS5. That was really cool just to see. We have Genshu Impact is an open world action RPG anime game. Cool. We have Auto Chest. Auto Chest is coming to PlayStation. Auto Chest was the huge sensation that both was originally, I think, a Dota 2 mod, and then Valve was like, you can't do that. So then Auto Chess made their own thing, and then both League and Dota copied it. So we have the original Auto Chess coming to the PlayStation. Then we have Temtem. Temtem is the Pokemon style game that was a monster hit on Steam. That's coming to PS5 in 2021. They showed off more Godfall stuff. Okay, this game is, I think it's the new game by Gearbox. It looks a lot like Warframe in my opinion. Who knows, but that's due out on PC and PS5 this year. Every time there's a PlayStation showcase, they just kind of show that off. So that's the PlayStation State of Play for August. That's just some games, some cool trailers that they showed off for this year. Make sure to check it out. Especially Pathless. I think that was really cool, and you should keep that on your radar. All right. Next, going forward, Sega will port more and new old games to PC after the Persona 4 Gold success. And I think this is huge. This is good. This is such a huge success because having Persona 4 Gold, one of the staples of Persona, next to like 5 and 3, of course, was huge because it meant like I wanted to play it. I couldn't play it. I don't have a fucking PSP. Who has a PSP? And now that that's out on the PC, I don't have to pirate it. I don't have to port it. I can actually support more Persona games because I really do like Persona as a franchise. So we get to see 5 or other Sega games that just like I don't even know about that are huge hits coming to PC is huge. And just getting more of these old games on either newer platforms or stable platforms like PC is better for the community as a whole. I've talked about it before in the past. It's just better to see old ports because that way you don't have to pirate it and do it, shady ways. Anyway, moving forward, the Fall Guys, it's a game that just came out. I believe it's placed number 3 on Steam. It's been doing very well, been selling very well. They tweeted about it, so that's good for them. Just to see, it's always good to see new sleeper hit games come out of nowhere. So that's good that Fall Guys is doing well. Then we have a rumor that the Mass Effect Trilogy Remastered is going to be a thing. So they're going to remaster Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3. See, this is another thing that I'm talking about again. Like they're in the, like after Andromeda fell, it's very sketchy, I think, to be doing these. I don't think Mass Effect 3 really needs a remaster. I don't think 2 needs remaster. I think those games still hold up very well if you go back and play them today. Mass Effect 1, however, yes, I think it does need a remastered. I own Mass Effect 1 on PC, and it just does not run because of just files, because it's such an old game. It was running on like Windows Vista or some shit. Like when it came out, it just does not work today in the current climate of current games and current files and current technology. So, and Mass Effect 1's the only Mass Effect game I haven't played. I played 2 and I played 3. So if we get a remastered of at least 1, I would be happy. 2 and 3, I don't think need a remastered, but remastering it as a whole trilogy is good overall because it lets people experience those games who don't own PS3s and Xbox 360s. Then we have, and this is kind of a small thing. I want to take this. A new Batman game will be reportedly be revealed at DC's Fandom by Warner Brothers Montreal. So this is interesting. Like, we've heard that they've been talking about a new Batman game for a while, and Warner Brothers has been doing stuff, under the scenes. They're a huge company, and they do really support gaming and their parent company as well, which is E17. So that being said, there will be kind of a new Batman game by Warner Bros. Montreal to be announced. We'll see what it is. I think there's a lot of good stuff to do, and I think the Arkham games are successful as a whole. Who knows? I don't think they'll use the Arkham franchise and say it's an Arkham game, but it's definitely something to look forward to because I like Batman. He's my favorite hero, and it's always get good games. Now, something that I think is more exciting from Warner Brothers is this. And for years, since the terrible relaunch of Arkham Knight on PC or the successful launch on console, depending on what you think that game is, what happened to Rocksteady? Where have they been? What have they been developing? What have they been working on? And we finally get it. On DC Fandom on August 22nd, which is only a couple weeks away, they will show off, or at least, give us more news on Suicide Squad. So they've been working on a Suicide Squad game for a while, which has the potential to be really, really, really good. I really like Rocksteady's games. I liked all the Arkham games they did. They were really, really, really fucking good. I don't have to, say any more about it. And then doing a Suicide Squad game with Superman on the cover, so obviously Superman's going to be involved for, to some degree, is huge. So I'm really excited to see what that is. Now, will this game probably be a Harley Quinn fest? It may just be a Batman Arkham City clone, but you're just playing as Harley the entire time? Maybe. But based on what Rocksteady has been doing, how quiet they've been over the last couple years, I doubt that. So anyway, let's move on. Some small news, God of War director says the PS5's SSD is just amazing. We've heard this from pretty much every developer, is that the SSD on the PS5 is, the go-to thing for the PS5. It's what makes the PS5 so good. So it's nothing really new there. Then we have an announcement from Doom. Doom will introduce an upcoming campaign expansion to Doom Eternals. So on August 27th. So if you like Doom Eternals, which was a really good game, I think it was, a Game of the Year contender currently, it will have a new DLC or a new expansion for the story, so you can get to killing more demons. Then Microsoft is firing at Apple, accusing it of treating gaming apps differently. And this is just because really, if you don't know what's happened, they launched xCloud recently, and because it's in beta, Apple has a policy where any app in beta or any game in beta will not be on the actual App Store, meaning it's not published to the actual App Store, which means if you're an Apple user, you can't use xCloud at all. But if you're a Android user, it doesn't work like that. So that's why Microsoft's kind of mad at Apple. The argument is it's a better user experience, but who really knows? I don't think it really matters. It's just Apple trying to dictate the market to the best of their ability. Then we have Animal Crossing New Horizon has sold out far more copies. So we already know that Animal Crossing New Horizon has been doing very, 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 very well for Nintendo, and that just keeps on going with the Switch, where Nintendo reports 428% jumps in profit. The Switch, with COVID and other things, have just been selling out like crazy. So that's always good to see that, Nintendo's doing well, because I want them to do well. Nintendo's one of the big daddies of the gaming company. And then moving on, Walt Disney Company has posted the first quarterly losses in almost 20 years. So COVID's fucking hurt them, bro. Them not having Marvel movies out for each summer in Blockbuster is fucking hurting them. And they've even said that Milan they're gonna put on Disney Plus because they're just losing money, it seems like. So that's huge. Disney losing money is huge because they basically own, I believe, 40% of the movie market. So now we move on a little bit to PlayStation and the Avengers game, right? I'm just rapidly going through this news because there's so much of it. So people are kind of mad about this, but if you went into this not expecting this, then you're kind of, I think, a dumbass in my opinion. This is, to be honest, just a thing. Exclusives suck, yes, but they're there for a reason, and you just got to get over them, really. And if you're really mad about them, then buy a PlayStation. As simple as that. So Spider-Man will be coming to Marvel's Avengers exclusively on PlayStation, which means if you like Spider-Man, and this is why I think is huge, because Spider-Man is the pinnacle of Marvel. He's the most popular Marvel hero. He's, when you think of Marvel, you think of Spider-Man, and then you think of Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America. But you think of Spider-Man, and Spider-Man only being on PlayStation is huge. I mean, that I can consider why people be mad for it just being Spider-Man, but that is huge. So Spider-Man being only on PlayStation for this Avengers game, damn, that really sucks for everyone else. That one I can actually be mad about, because Spider-Man is, a huge selling point for Marvel. The other stuff just being more exclusives, just being costumes and outfits for this game, I don't really care about too much. I don't think that's too big of a deal. This game it's either, I think, going to be a hit or it's going to be sleeper, and a lot of people who I think like Marvel are just going to be excited for it overall. That's just kind of the deal with Marvel fans. They're very diehard fans, but I think that overall, this game, we're gonna have to wait and see. But I think beta results have been pretty positive so far, but if it's just another Destiny, we're gonna have to wait and see. Then we have the Pokemon Unite roster leaks, photos, and more. So there's a leak of that Pokemon game we talked about a while ago. Cool, I guess. I don't think anyone really cares for this Pokemon game so much, but there's leaks for it. Jason Schreier did a tweet talking about Blizzard and Blizzard employees not earning enough, and how they have a spreadsheet on how they don't earn enough or make enough for a living. If you don't know who Jason Schreier is, he's a big reporter, used to work for Kotaku. But that's, not really a huge surprise. Blizzard is a very complicated company now. I think a lot of people think that, still have that memory of what they used to be, back in the day when they were top dog. But no, they're no longer top dog. They're nowhere close to top dog anymore. And they're very, 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 I think, problematic company overall. My take on Blizzard is just like, they make such good worlds and such good games and really good content, but they make really bad design decisions and very bad systems, and you can just see that in how the WoW community has reacted to the Shadowlands expansion and just going forward. So with that being said, that's all of our news for this week. I know it was a lot to get through, but it was good news, and I hope we're getting more juicy stuff coming forward within later this month. Anyway, let's get on to more juicy stuff, which is esports, starting with League of Legends and LPL. So if you don't know, this is the final week of esports, and then we move on to playoffs, and then finals, and then worlds. So worlds will be taking place in China in a bubble system this year, and right now we're in playoffs. And in LPL, which I believe it's the top 8 teams that make it into playoff for LPL. We have Top Esports in first, followed by JD Gaming, then Invictus in third, Sunning, Victory 5, LGD Gaming, Team WE, Fun Plus Phoenix in 8th. So Fun Plus Phoenix, last year's world champions, I don't think they make it this year. They don't make it to playoffs, so they're not going to worlds. But everything from LGD up, which is Invictus, which is world champions from 2018, they are going as well. So that's good to, seeing that another world contender. But following that, we have Rose Never Give Up in 9th, Edward Gaming in 10th, Fancy in 11th, Billy B 12th, and then LNG in the 13th, Oh My God in 14th. 15th is Rogue Warriors, E-Stars 16th, and last is Dominus Esports being 1-15 losses. So so it'll be interesting. In LCK is yet to play their tiebreakers, so we don't know who's making the playoffs yet. But we have Damwon and DRX in first, followed by Genji and T1 in third. Then we have Afrika Freaks and Sandbox in we have Afrika Freaks in 5th, Sandbox Gaming and KT in 6th. So there's 6. Whoever's in 6th place are in playoffs for LCK. Team Dynamic is in 8th, Hanwon Life is in 9th, and Seoul Haewon Prince is in 10th. In LEC, so we have 6 teams that are in playoffs, and we have Rogue in first, so they're in our first place. Then Mad Lions in second, G2 third, SK Gaming in 4th, Fnatic in 5th, XL Esports in 6th, and then Sklak 04, who I believe also made playoffs with their miracle run starting from the bottom, now going to, well, not the top, but not the bottom at 7th, is very impressive. And if they can continue to go off and, make it to Worlds, would be a very impressive story for them. I know they did some roster changes and they've been balling ever since. From last place to 7th is impressive. Now we have Misfits in 8th, Team Vitality in 9th, and Origins is in last place. So that's some huge stuff going forward in LEC. In LCS, we finished this season with Team Liquid in first, Cloud9 in second, FlyQuest in third, TSM in 4th, Golden Guardians in 5th, Evil Geniuses in 6th, 100 Thieves in 7th, and Dignitas is cut off at 8th and making it into playoffs, and COG in 9th, and Immortals in 10th are not making it into playoffs. They're dead in the water. But so far, if we're moving into rounds and playoffs, we have Evil Geniuses versus FlyQuest, Golden Guardians versus TSM, and then round 2 of playoffs, we have Team Liquid versus To Be Decided, C9 versus To Be Decided, 100 Thieves versus To Be Decided, Dignitas versus To Be Decided, and then from round 3 to playoffs to semifinals to third place to finals, we have all To Be Decided. So we will see how that goes in the next couple weeks, but those are going to be exciting games, especially now that people have Worlds on the line. Moving forward, we have the final brackets for the North America for Overwatch League. So we're just going to go over these real quick because we're going to overboard time and it's going to be a very long episode. Atlanta versus Vancouver. Atlanta moved forward. Los Angeles Valiant versus Houston. Valiant moved forward. Dallas versus Washington Justice. Dallas moved forward. Toronto versus Los Angeles Gladiators. Gladiators moved forward. Then in quarterfinals, we had San Francisco versus Dallas. San Francisco moved forward. Then we had Florida versus Atlanta. Florida moved forward. Then we had Paris versus Los Angeles Valiant. Paris moved forward. Then we had Philadelphia Fusion versus Los Angeles Gladiators. Philadelphia moved forward. Then we had Paris versus Philadelphia. Philadelphia moved forward to the finals. Then we had San Francisco versus Florida. San Francisco moved over to the finals, and then San Francisco won the finals 4-2 compared to Philadelphia Fusion. So congratulations to San Francisco. Now, last but not least, let's talk about games coming out this week. We already saw the release of Horizon Zero Dawn come out. We have Troy Total War to look forward to on PC, Deliver Us to the Moon, EA Sports, UFC 4, Microsoft Flight Simulator is probably a big one for PC that people are looking forward to. Rogue Legacy 2 come out, Pathfire, Kingsmaker, Battletoads, that's also coming out. Insurgency Sandstorm, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition comes out, and Jump Force for the Switch also comes out later on, along with Madden 21. So some small games coming out later this year until we get to September, where we have the Avengers game, and we have a Hitman on Stadia, and we have Tony Hawk as well, and Spelunk 2. So some more games generally in September. August is kind of the ramp month, and then September, October, November, December is when we really start to see a lot of good games. Anyway, that's going to conclude this week's episode of It's Not a Sport. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked it. Make sure to leave a like, a follow, a comment. It really helps out. Check out our Instagram, It's Not a Sport to You. If you want to see all of our shows, they're up on our YouTube channel. That's where you can watch them and archive them and see me and me talk about the articles on the show on screen. If you want to listen to our shows, they're up on our SoundCloud and our Spotify and iTunes as well. You can check out our website, itsnotasport.com. Anyway, this is your host, Salty Waffles, signing off, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful climb.